Dear Dhamma friends, we have come to the second question and answer session. So we have some written questions, it seems. So I'll cordially invite to present the written questions first.
Bhante, we have 7 questions.
Right.
Theruvan Saranai. Venerable Bhante, my main object of meditation is rising and falling of the abdomen. Yesterday you explained the Anapanasati meditation very beautifully, step by step. After listening to your sermon, I was wondering whether I am missing something by doing rising and falling of the abdomen meditation. I have a doubt whether Anapanasati meditation is more beautiful than the rising and falling of the abdomen meditation. Please advise me. May you attain Nibbana in this very life.
Yeah, actually, it's not the meditation technique, but it depends on the mind. Who is the practitioner? Whether the mind is beautiful or whether mind is missing anything. So I think both are equally capable. Both techniques are equally capable. Only thing is in Anapanasati you have the facility to go to deeper concentrations like jhana, but that is not available in rising and falling. But that's the only missing point. Other than that, everything is available. So basically, rising and falling starts with very similar to Anapanasati, where you might be able to utilize noting, and then slowly, as we discussed yesterday, probably you might feel that the certain risings are longer, certain risings are shorter. So likewise, the similar fashion, that too will grow. So I think you are the ones who has written the question. Yes. Benefits. Yeah. Rising and falling. I think we can't compare like that because now any technique ultimately have to give you mainly the wisdom part, the vipassana side, where you have to have a deeper understanding about the impermanence, unsatisfactoriness and the non-self characteristics. So this rising and falling as well as Anapanasati, both techniques lead into the same place. So they are like two different paths, but ultimately combining or joining together and giving the equal results. So therefore we can't say whether one is more advanced or one is more beneficial than the other one. Only thing, as I said, in the Anapanasati, you can, forgetting about the Vipassana side, one can lead entirely in the Samatha side and attain deeper concentrations that has some kind of a blissful effect. So while one is in that deeper concentrations, but other than that, there is no any other specific advantage as such, because rising and falling itself, when one is developing to a fairly consistent way, that too brings you fair amount of concentration, which is not to the level of Anapanasati. Say Anapanasati is taking you to the absorptions, but rising and falling taking you to the neighborhood concentrations, what you call as the Upachara Samadhi. That too is fairly, deep. These are not some trivial concentrations. These are fairly advanced concentration states. What you call as access concentration, you might have heard. Upachara Samadhi is the access concentration. So, access concentration is available through rising and falling as well as through Anapanasati. And that is the stage that one can turn towards the Vipassana. Yeah. So, in terms of Vipassana, both are very much equal. Only part is the concentration side. So other thing is, rising and falling directly take you to the Vipassana approach. It is at the beginning stages, it is giving you more into the developing of the concentration, and later slowly it is shifting you to the Dhatu Manasikara, 4 elements meditation. Anapanasati actually can lead to other sides as well. Say for example, Anapanasati can be used for Dhatu Manasikara and then can be used for Chittanupassana, Dhammanupassana. It can go in that direction. But rising and falling directly into Dhatu Manasikara and after that one can easily look at the mind. So the same even though the approach is different, ultimately one has completed Kayanupassana section and the Vedananupassana section through rising and falling. One can automatically shift to looking at the mind, then the same result as of Anapanasati. So therefore there are no big, nothing you are losing as much as possible. And therefore that may be, and on the other hand, Anapanasati has a little, kind of a drawback, where certain people, when they are in a very refined way, when they are concentrating on the nostril, sometimes if they are putting too much effort and the eyes are focused towards the nostril and such situations, maybe headaches and some side effects can arise. But if one is focusing on rising and falling, which is more into the abdomen, so there are no such side effects available, because your concentration is well balanced to the middle of the body, not to the upper half of to the head side. So therefore, but this can be overcome, of course, but there are no bigger side effects in rising and falling as in the Anapanasati. So, and the other point is that, say for example in Burma right now, I think only several places they practice Anapanasati, they have given more prominence to rising and falling. But in Sri Lanka, we promote both. Whatever the yogi is capable, we can take them in the same, whatever the given path. So in Sri Lanka, we have a kind of a flexible approach. But if you visit Burma, most of the meditation centers, they strictly put them into the rising and falling. Yeah. Because there is no anything yogi is missing. Rather, they can lead towards the same understanding. Yeah. Yes.
Venerable Bhante, being mindful where the object is the breath, I am concerned that I am forcing my breathing too much. As I become aware of my breath in meditation, I am conscious of my effort over when and how I breathe. If I am breathing too dramatically, I try to regulate my breathing so it is more natural, but then too sometimes feel forced. Then I try to imagine I am just observing the breath, not controlling it, which will work for a little time and help me concentrate. However, I eventually catch myself controlling the breath. Please advise how I should think about this.
Yeah, actually, this is a question actually most of the yogis come across. I myself had that same issue. So actually, when we are too concerned and we want to do it and we are over enthusiastic, then the controlling happens. Then later we found it is too tiresome and you can't sleep well and less sleeping and maybe headache and all these troubles. So that indicates that you are doing some sort of artificial breathing, some sort of not natural anyway. So there you need to understand, okay, where, even if you are not there, the body will breathe. So you don't need to worry. So you have to just go away and let the body breathe. So basically you have to find out that balance. And one option is you can, rather than immediately starting Anapanasati, you can take another technique. Say for example, Buddhanusati. So you are doing just forgetting about Anapanasati, completely reflecting about certain good qualities of the Buddha. Arahang, like that, certain different qualities of the Buddha, one can reflect. And now you are in an entirely different approach. While doing this Buddhanusati, the reflections of Buddha's qualities, your mind will calm down and your mind becomes sort of serene and very peaceful. And at that time, in a very gentle way, you can check whether how the breathing happens. As a side effect, as a sideline, you can simply watch in a, not as a main object, but as a secondary object, you can see how breathing happens. Now, breathing is not your main object very much, but now you are developing fair amount of joy and calmness through Buddhanusati, and then at the same time, after a while, you check how Anapanasati happens. Now Anapanasati is going on very quietly, smoothly, and without your any kind of intervention. At that time, now you can sleep. You are now observing. You are simply witnessing how Anapanasati is happening, how in breath and out breath is happening. Now slowly you are simply continue this observation and letting go of Buddhanusati. And now this observation will continue, and you are no more reflecting the Buddha's qualities. Now you are simply watching Anapanasati. So now natural breathing may start. So that is one approach you can take. Or you can use metta, loving kindness, or some other technique just to start meditation. And slowly you can look at how at that, once the mind has settled, once the mind has come to some kind of a peaceful state, then you can slowly check the state of mind and the state of the breath, how it is going on, and slowly you can look at it without grasping, without controlling, without any forceful breathing. So these techniques you can use. Yeah, and on the other hand, once you recognize that you are doing forceful breathing, so you have the opportunity to leave it aside. You can simply take your hand away and let the body breathe. And you may understand where you are controlling. Why am I effortfully breathing? So you simply keep your attention maybe at some other place and let the body breathe. And then again establish mindfulness maybe at the nostril. So likewise you can do some little adjustments and see. Because this is a common problem most of the beginners have. So when they start to watch the breath, unknowingly they start to control it. Yeah.
When one improves in meditation, is it possible that one becomes selfish? If so, can you please explain as per Dhamma?
Selfish. Selfish for what? That's the thing that we need to check. So if you are sort of selfish just to say develop yourself, so that you are not much now going with your friends and you are now utilizing your time and staying alone, secluded, not going to parties and all those things, and you are now very selfish, appear like selfish. And but on the other hand, the typical selfishness is defined in a different way. Say for example, you have a lot of wealth and you are not sharing with anyone, you are simply consuming everything by yourself. That is selfishness. But here in the meditation side, even though it appears like selfishness, that you are not moving much with the others and you are simply concerned about yourself and you are guarding yourself and not much socializing and all these things, people can criticize as you are now selfish. But that is not the thing for continuously, say for example. Because at the beginning, you can't develop yourself spiritually if you are too much socializing yourself. So you have to find some seclusion and be away from the typical socializing, and then you can develop the spiritual qualities, and later you can slowly you have to see whether now I can again go back, not to the same level maybe, but to some extent at least you have to become the same person very much like. It is not the same person but very much like the same person. So say if you are thinking that now I am a meditator, now I am high class and I should not associate anyone, I am a sotapanna, I should not venerate anyone, I am not respecting my parents. So those are the nonsense actually people have. So they start meditators and then they become really conceited, even through meditation. Actually, Buddha's teaching is fairly for understanding oneself and to recognize one's own shortcomings and defilements. And more one understands shortcomings and the defilements, one become very humble, other than becoming conceited. But the opposite happens sometimes. Sometimes people they start to sort of overestimate themselves and simply looking down the others. And these things happen actually even in the society today. But on the other hand, in the given question, so appears like selfish even in the meditation in the beginning stages, say several years, for example. But later, the meditator himself become an example to the others, and how he approaches a certain problem, and how he is behaving, how he is handling certain situations and all these things. And again, he is now slowly helping others as well. So just for some boasting, actually, while I was in my previous monastery, I didn't do much any kind of teaching as today. So I am extremely selfish in that sense. So my teachers at that time trying to put me on several things, but I refused everything. So about 5 years, 6 years, I am utterly selfish. But now I can't be selfish very much. So because we need fair amount of time, because when, say for example, actually I ordained in age 36. So as spending time as a layman, so I was cracked myself while being a layman, involved with too many activities and lot of this, the technical stuff and all these things really spoiled my mind, and it took long time than a typical person to recover myself. So if I try to do everything at the very beginning of my monkhood, then I can't recover. So therefore I took enough time to recover myself and really understand what Buddha is teaching. Because if we simply think that I have this and that, and therefore I would be able to immediately understand what Buddha is telling, so then it is also another mistake that we do sometimes. We are trying to compare Buddha's teaching with the typical worldly kind of approach. It has a big difference. That's why I always emphasize the knowledge that typically we gain through typical worldly subjects and all these education is one side. But the Buddha's wisdom that Buddha is encouraging is entirely a different side. So we have to be very honest, very humble on these things. So otherwise we might mislead. We might get misled, and even we mislead the others. So that's the issue. So I think as meditators, you can mind your own business. As Bhante Dhammajiva says, just mind your business, mind your own business and be mindful. But later, slowly, you can join to Satipasala, you can join to you can join with various other things and start helping others also. Yes. Yeah.
Much merit to you, Bhante, for that realization. We are the biggest benefiters of it. Bhante, I made a New Year resolution that I will be mindful on my day-to-day activities and was successful to a certain level. When I am not mindful, I immediately and at times after some time, I realize that I am not mindful and come back to the present moment. After listening to the Dhamma sermon yesterday, now I am determined to practice more often. Much merit to you for being an eye-opener.
Good. Sukhi hotu.
Venerable Swamin Wahansa, is there a difference between Mano Sankhara and Chitta Sankhara? If there is, please explain. Thank you, and may you be attaining Nibbana.
Yeah, do too. So actually there's a difference. So as we discussed maybe on yesterday, there's a question related to Sankhara. And as I said, the gross level of Sankhara are called in Kaya Sankhara, Vachi Sankhara and Mano Sankhara in the plural form, where the gross bodily activities and the verbalization, the speaking, talking, as well as thinking. The proliferation and obsessive thinking and all these things are the gross level of Sankhara. And the subtle level is related to body. You have the breathing. Inhaling and exhaling is the subtle level, the root level of all the bodily activities. So that is the very refined or elementary level of bodily formations. And the root level of words are the vitakka vichara, applied mind and the sustained mind, because you can't talk without putting your mind to a particular object. Say for example, if I want to talk about this, first I have to put my mind to it. Suppose I am just looking at here. Now if I want to talk about handkerchief, I have to look at it, or I have to bring my attention to that. So that is called vitakka. You are applying your mind to that particular subject. After that you have to reflect about it. So that is called sustained thought, vichara. And after that only you are talking. After that only the words are coming. So therefore it is said the devas can read the minds of the humans and the others may be, because before they talk, they have some little thinking going on in their mind. So even before they talk, therefore the devas can read the mind, what he is going to tell. So therefore the root level of words are vitakka and vichara, which is related to the mind. And then mano sankhara is the gross level of the mind activities. You are thinking too much, maybe very angry, getting a lot of angry thoughts, maybe a lot of lustful thoughts, maybe a lot of different kind of what you call michaditti, wrong views, strongly holding certain wrong views. So likewise, mentally you are very much like locked. Lot of thinking is going on, lot of mental proliferation going on, too much thinking going on. So that is the gross level of sankhara related to the mind. But the very refined level is called the chitta sankhara, that is simply vedana and sanya. That is the feeling and the perceptions. So feeling and perceptions are the root level, and on top of that we build lot of things. Say when you are getting a particular sanya, say you are now here and you immediately recall, say, your child at home or your parent at home or whoever, and now immediately suppose there's a mental image coming to your mind. So that is simply the sanya, that is the perception level, very elementary level. On top of that, you do some kind of fabrication, you do some kind of addition, multiplication and all these things, and now it is developing to a kind of several thoughts. And this thinking now starts, now you start thinking in different directions, and now obsessive thinking can happen. So that is the developed or gross level of sankhara related to the mind. So therefore, mano sankhara and chitta sankhara, I would say the gross developed manifested level of chitta sankhara can be called as mano sankhara. The immediate level, the elementary level is the vedana and sanya, feeling and the perception, that is the chitta sankhara. And on top of that, you do lot of additions, lot of fabrications, lot of preparations happen, and after that it manifests as the mano sankhara, mental formations. Yeah.
Dear Bhante, with regard to the Dhamma sermon yesterday, you explained that once we see the complete cycle of breath, such as gross to subtle, long and short, and the two gaps in between the in and out breath and vice versa, one has completed the Kayanupassana. During the early days of starting the meditation, I experienced all these and was able to stop the inner chatter and be in very calm stage without any interruption. However, since of late, when I sit for meditation without going through all the stages in Kayanupassana, my breath settles in, but I am loaded with so many thoughts and with pockets of calmness as well. Can you please explain this new experience of mine?
Yeah. So actually, when you start to meditate and you are going step by step gradually, say for example, your breath not immediately settling down, rather it becomes, you can notice it, it may be gross, and now you are going through little by little, improving mindfulness, improving concentration, and now you recognize certain breaths are longer, certain breaths are shorter, and then you are going to the next stage, okay, you are watching the complete cycle of the breath, and as a result, suppose breath is now calming down. So if you are spending fair amount of time in this stepwise process, gradual process, so naturally your inner chatter will reduce because you are fairly involved in this process. But what happens is, say once you become familiarized with certain other things, so say you do, but still inner chatter can't happen. Because say for example you do walking meditation and you are settling yourself and mindfulness is established and you now come and sit and breath also already becomes settled mostly. And then you don't need to go through all the steps as we explained in the sutta, because you are already past certain stages and now you can immediately watch beginning, the middle and the end. So you can immediately get into that stage. And as a result, you can further refine the breath, or rather the breath becomes refined, and then your mindfulness further improved, and then the tranquilizing happened. The breath completely calmed down, and now you can be in this state. So, I like to know whose question is this. Yours? What's happened? What take horu?
I was practicing the same way and I was in calmness also for a long time, and then it was going on. But since of late, especially at home and all, I don't do walking meditation at all. So I simply sit in the morning and evening.
Right.
And as I sit, my mind settles, the breath settles down and I see all the vibrations and everything, and I come to a calm state.
Right.
But after a while, thoughts coming up. It's not like day-to-day thoughts.
No, thing is this. Now, your approach here is not entirely through a concentration path. Now, here we are talking on a concentration path where a beginner or whoever fully aware of the complete breath, and you are passing all the different stages gradually. Because for a beginner, you can't come to this peaceful state immediately. It takes fair amount of time. So he is spending fair amount of time, and as a result, calming down happens, and the concentration also builds up. Fairly deeper concentration builds up. So that concentration helps to prevent thoughts coming in. But you are now coming to a peaceful state with a shallow concentration. So that shallow concentration is not strong enough to prevent thoughts coming in. The thoughts are now coming. But in your approach, receiving these thoughts are necessary also. Because now the approach in the Vipassana, approach is not always being in a concentrated state. Rather you are maintaining some kind of a shallow concentration, allowing the mind to wander a little bit. And with wandering, you understand why it is wandering. Say for example, once you reach, say, some sort of that anisthita state, say you are practicing Vipassana and then say you understood, say you went through certain vibrations and you observe these things, and as a result you come into a peaceful state. Once you overcome, or rather once all these vibrations and whatever's rising and passing away processes are fairly ceased, fairly you can let go of, your mind can come to a peaceful state which Buddha talks as the anisthita state, kind of an independent state of the mind. Now mind does not associate any object. So this is an object, this is an area one first may touch through a fairly deep concentration. That is what typically happens. At that time also you are with some higher or deeper concentration, then thoughts may not come. But later what happens is you are capable of touching this state very much immediately without going to deeper concentration. Then mind wanders. Definitely. It may not last for a long time, say after 5 minutes, mind start to wander. But the point is, through wandering only you are recognizing or you are understanding who you are. Because it is necessary to understand why mind is wandering. So, say for example, if there are no defilements available, then mind doesn't need to wander. It is internally happy, internally contented, internally completely satisfied. Why mind is wandering is because still some kind of agitation inside. agitation is available. Some kind of, say, lust is promoting something. Maybe some kind of aversion is promoting something. So mind can't stay internally, so it's jumping outside, catching certain external objects. So once you recognize this jumping, once you recognize all these distractions, then you are recognizing the sort of latent tendencies. So these are fairly some deeper parts of the vipassana. For that to happen, you need to allow mind to play as it like. So if you can't do that while maintaining a very deep concentration. So therefore you don't need to worry at that time why mind is wandering. Rather, wandering has to be observed in a way that why it is wandering, what are the causes, what are the defilements underneath, and to recognize them. So that is how you have to slowly sort of weaken those defilements. There is no any other way to weaken defilements, because once the mind being caught up, or once the mind being distracted to a defilement, then you understand mind is not in that previous peaceful state. And with this, when compared to this peaceful state, this defiled state is gross. Defiled state is fairly fragile, and it is conditioned. So likewise, you recognize the shortcomings of this defiled state, and as a result, you are returning back to this peaceful state. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this is entirely Chittanupassana, because there is no any involvement with the body. So you are, no more in the Kayanupassana or Vedananupassana, you are simply being with, observing the mind, definitely. Yeah. Yes?
Bhante, I realize that I am going through these thoughts, and then I realize it's the craving also. Those thoughts are craving.
Yes.
But then within myself, I give a justification for that craving.
So you like craving?
I don't know, but I can't get over it because I justify that craving. I don't know how to come out with it without justifying it.
No, that's the thing. If you appreciate the defilement, then the mind will continue in that same route, in the same side. So say a kind of a aversive thought come, and you justify it. Okay, I am correct. He is wrong. So you give more marks to yourself and less marks to him or her. Now you develop anger. Now anger channel is open. Now more and more angry thoughts are coming, and you are entirely now in the angry mood. It is taking you more into anger. So if we recognize, but on the other hand, suppose you recognize at the very initial stage, okay, now mind has shifted to anger, aversive thoughts are there. Now this is the aversion. I should not promote it. I should not encourage it. If I encourage it, it is harmful to me, it is harmful to the other person. And actually Buddha mentions very beautifully about the shortcomings of the defilements in Dvedha Vitakka Sutta, in Majjhima Nikaya. Dvedha Vitakka Sutta. So according to that sutta, Buddha explains how he, before enlightenment, how he did certain categorizations of the defilements, the various thoughts in the mind. So he recognized, okay, there are sensual desire, there are these kind of aversive thoughts, and again there are sort of harmful thoughts, harming the others. So those are the unwholesome side. On the other hand, there are renunciation related thoughts, nekkamma vitakka, and then the sort of kind, compassionate thoughts, as well as certain beneficial thoughts. So he recognized these two sides, and he is categorizing, okay, whenever thought coming, he recognized what are the category. Is it wholesome or is it unwholesome? And he is putting that to this. And when unwholesome thought come, he says, it is atta vyadayapi sangvattati, para vyadayapi sangvattati, ubhaya vyabhadayapi sangvattati. That means when a defiled thought come, when a wrong, say, lustful thought come, aversive thought come, deluded thought come, whatever the such wrong, unwholesome thought comes, he recognizes it is, if I am promoting this, if I am keeping it for a long time, it is harmful to myself. And it may be harmful to the other person. And it may be harmful to both sides. And not only that, he is telling, Anibbana sangvattaniko, Panya nirodhiko, Vigahata pakkiko. Anibbana Samvattaniko. It may never keep you very peaceful, because defilement can't make you peaceful. Other than it becomes kind of a burning inside. You start to burn. So therefore it is Anibbana Samvattaniko. It's opposite to Nibbana. And Panya Nirodhiko, whatever the kind of wisdom you had, so this such available wisdom being harmed because of these defilements. And again, Vighata Pakkiko, that means this is creating some amount of suffering, some amount of tension, kind of stress in the mind. So he understood these drawbacks in defilements. So once he recognized those things, Buddha is telling, so these defiled states, this defiled thinking may reduce. So then he is coming back to the correct side. So therefore if we are promoting any defilement, then it will grow. Yeah. So actually, it's not the thing is, typically what happens is, if our mindfulness is not strong enough, when we are looking at the defilement, slowly that defilement can grow and it can overpower you. So then you are thinking, too much thinking, other than the defilement fades away. Typically, if the mindfulness is strong, once you recognize, the defilement will fades away. Then for that you need to have a fair amount of mindfulness. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Bhante, this is a very long one, about 5 full pages, where I didn't have time to go through it because it was put at the last minute, so I'll slowly read it.
Right.
Venerable Bhante, I have been practicing meditation for close to 2 years now. When I started in early 2017, I struggled a lot to keep my focus on my breath or on my feet during walking meditation. Gradually, I was able to keep the focus intact. By mid-2017, I was able to do a full hour of Sakman, being completely focused on the sensations I feel on my feet. Within about 10 minutes or so, the sensations would fade away and it would be an effortless walk. I don't hear any sounds. My mind doesn't hold on to any outer things it sees. I would be completely focused on Sakman. During Pariyanka, after I sit down and focus on here and now, I start to see my breath going in and out of the nose. After about 5 breaths, I would be in a place of nothingness. I don't hear anything, feel anything. I would stay this way for about an hour. During this time, I also practiced sati in my day-to-day activities, and I was able to keep my focus on the physical activities for the most part of the day. Later, towards end of 2017, I started to see my thoughts clearly while doing my daily activities. I was able to identify anger, joy, sadness, etc. clearly and watch them as they come and go. Even when the mind was chaotic, I would know that and watch until it settled down. However, during this time, Sakman and Paryanka meditation became a little difficult, as I found it hard to keep my focus as before, and I kept getting thoughts during these meditation sessions. In December 2017, I participated in a 7-day retreat. During the retreat, I felt as if I was unable to maintain my focus due to continuous thoughts coming into my mind. However, towards the end of the retreat and after, for about 10 days, I experienced a period where there was continuous sati without any effort or point of focus. It was as if there were 2 layers within me, where on the top layer I would go about doing my daily routine and there would be issues too. Sometimes, however, on an inner layer, there was consistent peace Nothing that happened on the outer layer disturbed this inner layer. However, this too went away, and I had a similar but not so consistent sati throughout the day. Yet both Sakman and Paryanka remained less focused. That place of nothingness and effortless walk was no more. This is how it has been throughout 2018. However, I am able to continuously, for the most part, see my thoughts that come and go. Sometimes I get carried away with them. I watch my mind going from hearing a sound to seeing a picture to a thought and then to the breath. This I am able to do effortlessly, and it happens naturally too. Today, I did... Shall I read it out?
Yeah.
Today, I did Sakman after breakfast and tried focusing on my feet by noting as left and right. I am only able to keep my focus for about 5 minutes before thought starts to flow in. I kept attempting this until the time for Paryanka. During Paryanka, I sat down and watched my body as instructed, and it slowly focused to the movement of my chest. As Bhante has advised that it is better to focus either on the breath or the movement of the stomach, I focused on my breath, which is the easier one for me. After watching my breath for a few minutes, I was in a place of nothingness.
Sorry? Last statement?
Nothingness.
No. Not only that. The last statement?
Sorry. After watching my breath for a few minutes, I was in a place of nothingness.
Right.
I felt sleepy and I was aware of drifting to sleep-like state, but I kept being aware. I was able to stay this way for about 40 minutes. During Sakman, again, I was able to maintain my focus on my feet, on the sensations, or on knowing that I am walking. I sat down for a second Paryanka, which was similar to the first, as I was in a place of sleep and non-sleep, but awareness was in place. This too feels like the nothingness I had experienced before, but the joy and the calmness I experienced back then is not that prominent now. I continue to see my thoughts most of the time. I was also able to maintain sati in between while walking to the dana hall, while eating, drinking water, etc. Generally, now even though I see my thoughts, it is difficult for me to keep sati during daily activities on the physical movements. I meditate for at least an hour a day every day. Mostly my mind is chaotic these days, but I keep continuing to do Sakman and Paryanka every day. Venerable Bhante, I feel as if I am going backwards in my meditation. I seek your guidance to help me through this. Much merit to you.
As far as I can understand, you did fair amount of meditation some time back, and you are able to, and again, as far as I can understand that you did fair amount of Sakmana, the walking meditation as well, and was able to come to a state where there are no thoughts, no objects, without any firm grasping. You can maintain the mindfulness without an object. You can reach that stage, and later, due to whatever reason, that you lost that, and now again you are trying yourself, and time to time again you are coming back to that previous state, and but the now problem is you are not getting the previous now in the previous years. Say for example, when you are on that peaceful state, it's so blissful, so peaceful, such blissfulness, so some that joy that you have experienced very early is no more right now, and again it is very short. So if I summarize the question, I think that is what I gained. I don't know whose question is this. Yes, right. So yes. So did I understand your question correctly, or did I miss anything?
Yes, Bhante. But there are a lot of thoughts happening all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I just want to clarify whether during the period that you were doing, say, consistent practice, so at that time, were you able to do fair amount of observation related to the body or sensations or feelings or thoughts or whatever such thing?
Related to the body during meditation, no, I would go to that place of nothingness really fast.
Yeah.
But when it came to watching watching the physical movements in day-to-day sati, I was able to go into detail and watch them. Yeah.
While in the day-to-day activities.
Yes, day-to-day.
How about the walking?
Walking also, I would be able to see a lot of detail when I was doing the walking.
What?
I would be able to see a lot of detail.
Right.
While walking, the sensations I'll be able to experience very much.
Right.
And but then I started switching to this mode of seeing just the thoughts. Like I would see the different thoughts all the time.
Right.
And what I realized was when I started watching the thoughts, that ability to focus on the physical movements was getting lesser and lesser.
Right.
So when I tried to I would be able to focus on washing a cup or a plate earlier and would see a lot of detail. But once I switched to this mode of seeing the thoughts, I was no longer able to focus on that physical movements to that same extent.
Yeah, fine. So that's all right. But only thing is, now were you able to, now thing is sometimes people misinterpret this nothingness related to the samatha side, because you can reach fair amount of nothingness even through samatha approach as well without touching much of a vipassana. Say for example, you are simply practicing anapanasati and you are constantly being with the breath, and breath is refined, and the last stage that we discussed yesterday, the Dhamma sermon, Passambhayam Kaya Sankharang, where you are tranquilizing all the thoughts and all inner chatter, and again say breath also has become very subtle, and a novice say meditator can interpret that as nothingness. But on the other hand, suppose there are another yogi who has gone through this and then he is practicing vipassana. Say he is observing a fair amount of time about the sensations, maybe about the thoughts, maybe about the feelings, maybe about different element characteristics, and he is now observing various phenomena, how they are behaving, how they are arising, how they are behaving, how they are passing away, and all these things, which is contributing to the development of the wisdom. Through the development of the wisdom only, one will simply let go. The real sort of vipassana approach develops. Then only one may completely come into a peaceful state of mind, that you can say the proper nothingness. So the term nothingness actually related to the, say, in the jhana also there's something called nothingness that is related to the arupa vachara jhana. So that's a different. So these terms therefore sometimes misleading. So therefore we need to clarify properly what is the kind of nothingness you experience in your, say, previous stages, and what is the nothingness that you are experiencing right now through your present practice.
So Bhante, when I'm watching my breath, even before I've never been able to see it receding and finishing off. It's like halfway through I'm watching, I go to this place where I don't feel anything, I don't hear anything, and then after about an hour I will wake up out of it. It feels like I've been somewhere else and come out of it, or sort of is what I feel. Right.
So I think then it's more into the concentration, because once the concentration is very deep, so you have a kind of a bunker like thing, so you are there and there are no thoughts coming in, because concentration is very powerful. But on the other hand, but still the necessary amount of observation hasn't happened. So observation has to happen related to the ongoing phenomena, the present phenomena. That is the path for kind of wisdom development. So you have to fair amount of observation has to do on the present phenomena, ongoing phenomena, and how they are behaving. Then the mind realize, okay, they are not useful, or they are really sort of unsatisfactory. They are I can't control. They are very transient. So likewise, fair amount of wisdom develops. then these phenomena appears like someone else's phenomena. Then these phenomena appears like very distant to your observation, and you are now little relaxed. Your mind becomes very much detached from the ongoing process. So then ultimately will completely given up, and now the mind can be on its own. So this is the stage we need to come in the vipassana. So if you are coming to that state, then no problem. But as far as I can understand, you are getting to a very deeper concentration immediately, and you are staying there very much like stuck there. So I think you better not promote this state, because if you are promoting this state with a very higher concentration, it is not much beneficial to any side, because you can have some kind of a bliss being there. You can completely cut away from the world, but that's a simple escape. That is not much beneficial to you. So rather you be with more into the observing various activities like you are now doing, say various activities, the day-to-day activities, and maybe doing a lot of walking meditation, seeing every detail, and that helps you to get away from this sleeping state. It's not a sleeping state, but a kind of a concentrated state. You can be free from that concentrated state when you are developing mindfulness, because now you know there are different faculties. No, mindfulness is one faculty, concentration is another faculty. So when concentration faculty comes to the front, overpowering the mindfulness, it is taking the upper hand. Now it is overpowering, so you are no more mindful, you are not awake, you don't know what has happened. There is no much benefit in that side. So rather reduced concentration but improved mindfulness is better, but not blissful as such. So there are thoughts coming in, but you are well aware of them. You are maintaining fair amount of peace, but for a short period. Nothing to worry. So more and more you find out, as you are now doing, you are watching the mind. Thoughts are coming and going, and you are recognizing them, and without being caught up with them, if you are able to recognize them, that's a good sign. Say thoughts are coming, and without staying longer, they are going. Another thought is coming, you are observing that, and you are not getting caught up with it, and then it is going. So likewise, things are happening. Thoughts are coming and going. So now thoughts become very much like diluted. I don't know whether you are experiencing something like that. So thoughts does not stay longer in the mind, or are they staying longer?
No, if I get caught up, yes, it goes
Definitely,
on.
yes.
But if not, yes, they come and go.
That's right.
So, yeah.
So you have to develop that coming and going part. So if the mindfulness is less, you get caught up. And again, if the thoughts are very attractive, very tempting, the possibility is there to get caught up. So then you are promoting again the proliferation.
Bhante, so when I said that nothingness that I was experiencing, it's as if, like you said, it's like a bunk I go into, and then when I finish the meditation, I sort of come out of it.
Yes.
So even during Sakman, when I'm getting these thoughts, if I get caught up in it, it's a similar experience there as well, where I go to a place where I don't see what is around me, I don't hear anything. It's again sort of like a bunker, and then I come out of it. Even during Sakman it happens. No,
thing is, therefore, that's why even in the Vipassana approach, you are getting to this nothingness, we'll use the same term, that also through fair amount of concentration. At that time also you can't feel, you can't hear, you can't, whatever things are there. So that's why it's a bit difficult to distinguish whether you have gone in the Samatha approach or gone in the Vipassana approach. That's why I promote more into the Vipassana approach, develop more observing various phenomena, how they are coming and going without being caught up with them. And more you develop that, slowly they fade away. So, and again, say for example, thoughts are coming, and suppose these are 5 thoughts. Now one after the other thoughts are coming. More and more you observe, then you might even feel little gap between thoughts. Now that means the clarity is improving. That's a good sign. Now you promote that. Now thoughts are coming, and even one by one thought you can recognize. Okay, one thought arising and passing away, another thought arising and passing, another thought arising and passing away, and the gap further improves. And slowly, no thoughts are there for a while. Then you stay there. Then you are on the proper path. Then you are 100% sure. Now you have done through this whole observation, proper observation, and the wisdom has developed fair amount. So the mind is not grasping. So thoughts are coming and going, and now you are slowly being in the space, being in the nothingness, being without any object. So this mindfulness is fairly, another opens you for another stage of vipassana.
Bhante, with sitting and walking meditation, sometimes I'm not able to focus on the breath or the walking at all because the thoughts keep coming so much.
Yes. So then you start to watch the mind. Nothing to worry. So now, since you are now used to watch the mind, if you are skillful in watching it, nothing to worry. While walking also, you can watch the mind. You can forget about the sensations, but the thing is, you have to be careful. This watching the mind also leads to the proper way. Like I have explained, you have to see how thoughts are coming and going rather than being caught up with them. And then you have to feel there's a kind of a gap being introduced, and the thoughts are being apart, and you are now experiencing certain amount of calmness in the mind. So these are the positive sides. If not that happens, you again have to go to the feet. Again have to develop mindfulness through the typical Kaya Anupassana. Because handling mind immediately is a big task. It's a bit difficult. Because less the mindfulness, more will be the traps. You get caught up. But the advantage of being in Kaya Anupassana is you are simply watching the body, and it helps you to build up mindfulness. With that build up mindfulness, you can watch the mind. Yeah. So you have to handle it with the situation. If you are successful in watching the mind, then you can see the thoughts are coming with less frequency. And there may be even gaps between thoughts. If it is not successful, you go back to watching the feet, and you see different sensations, how they are coming and going, all these detail, and then further you are improving mindfulness. Yeah. Good.
Much merit to you, Bhante.
Yeah. So we have finished the written questions. Are there any verbal questions? Yeah. No, it depends on the practice. So more and more you see the impermanency, the transient nature of the thoughts. It will increase. How and more if you are not promoting thoughts, if more and more you see the impermanence, you see the unsatisfactoriness, you see that there is no big value to these thoughts, and then the rate of appearing thoughts will reduce. Then you see fair amount of gap. This gap increases. So it is through practice, and there is no any specific method. The ongoing practice will help you will naturally makes it increase the gap between thoughts. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Welcome to Kalalgoda. Yeah. Exactly.
Deep concentration, I get thoughts like earlier said. What I do is thoughts are not mine.
Yes.
The body is not mine. How can the thoughts be mine? Sometimes the whole hour of meditation, sometimes I get thoughts. I discard them as not mine.
Correct. Yeah, there are different approaches available. Like what you mentioned, you simply understand them but not identifying with them and simply allowing them to pass away. That is one approach. And the other approach is that as in the Indriya Bhavana Sutta Buddha mentioned, so you can see that whatever the state prepared through being with the thoughts is fairly gross when compared to the peaceful, unattached, undefiled state which you are used to recognize. So that is the refuge basically. With compared to this refuge, being with thoughts, being with this agitated state is fairly gross. That is Sankata. Olarika. And then Sankata, this prepared state is fairly conditioned. So you recognize that conditioned nature. It's a very fragile condition. So that nature you recognize. And then you can come back to this peacefulness. And the other side, Buddha says that you see the causes. Okay, this, say for example, you got thoughts as a result of seeing something. Say you are in the walking path and you saw something, and as a result you got several thoughts, and now you are in a kind of a thinking state, in a defiled state, and there are causes for that. Now that is, seeing that object is one immediate cause. Say your eye consciousness, the eye and all these things are other proximate causes. So likewise you see the causes, Paticca So once you recognize those causes, then you are going to the root of the problem, and then you can come back to this peaceful state. So, and again simply you can see how thoughts are coming and going, arising and passing away. That's another approach. So there are different techniques available. So whatever you prefer you can use. Sometimes, these simple techniques are helpful. Like she said, say simply knowing that they are not mine. So simply you disclaim thoughts. They are not mine, you simply disclaim them. And that way also you can discard them and come back to the peacefulness. But only problem is if you are disclaiming them, and whatever the technique ultimately has to help you to come back to the peaceful state. If thoughts are coming continuously, that indicates this technique is not much powerful. You better improve mindfulness further with other techniques. Because watching the mind was not successful at this state. Because thoughts are constantly coming, and even though you are watching, they are constantly coming. They are not stopping. The gap is not increasing. So that means you are not yet ready to watch the mind. So better be with a physical object, like breathing or watching the sensations, or being with the foot, or simply observing various element characteristics, because there you are well concentrated and watching them carefully in an entirely different process. Mind is watching the body now. So that completely cuts away the thinking part. So say for example you are very mindfully slowly walking, then thinking can't happen because there is no time to think, because you have to watch the sensations arising. So that helps you to cut through these defilements, cut through this thinking quickly. So therefore, if watching the mind is not powerful enough or not successful, better go back to the Kayanupassana or Vedananupassana. That really helps. Yes. 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 Nissarana.
Bhante, I was just about to ask somewhat of the same question.
Mm-hmm.
I was under the impression that our formula, Sankhatang Olarikam Paticca Samuppannam, we look at things as well as thoughts. So, what exactly do you see that way?
Look at things as well as thoughts.
Thoughts, yes.
What did you mean?
Now we can look at the thing as Sankhata, Olarika and Paticca Samuppanna.
Yeah, no. Thing is, actually there Buddha is asking us to return back to that peacefulness, seeing the drawbacks of the newly created state of mind.
Yeah.
So, and he's sort of motivating or encouraging, telling, okay, etan santang, etan panitan, yadidang upekha. It's entirely into Chittanupassana level.
Okay.
So, say for example, you are able to maintain some kind of equanimity without much proliferation, without thinking, very peaceful. That very for a short time. Say for example, 5 minutes you are there.
Yeah.
But then mind distracts, for example. And now say you are thinking about your son. Okay, some thinking is going on. Now little you feel like, okay, I'm little tensed, for example. So you recognize this tension has arisen, and this is a little gross. This is little fairly gross when compared to that very refined, very peaceful state where I was. So there is something to compare. So after you recognize these drawbacks in this newly created defiled state, you can now return back to this previous old peaceful state. Etan santang etan panita yadidang upekha. You recall that I was in a fairly peaceful state.
Yeah.
Mind was in a very tension-free state, but now mind is tensed. So you can return back.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the same principle is valid. Say, for example, you are now watching this. This is gross. You are referring something like that, right?
Yeah.
So I think whatever the grasping nature of the mind is gross. That is true. Whatever the grasping nature of the mind is gross. So, but the grasping happens in the mind.
Yes.
It may
That's
be different objects are there.
Quite so.
So different objects are the. So is the catalyst? I am using the correct term. Catalyst.
Yeah.
Is the correct term.
Yeah.
So it is the proximate cause. But the grasping happens. Now the grasping has happened in the mind. Now mind is in a gross state. So you can see the gross state in the mind. But rather than seeing the object is gross.
All right.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yes.
Thank you very
Interesting.
much.
Yeah. Okay, then I think if there are no any other questions, we can wind up the question and answer session. So we'll have the Dhamma sermon around 4 p.m. Thank you very much. Sukhi hotu. Sadhu sadhu anumodami. Sadhu anumoditabbang. Kamami kamitabbang. Sukhi hotu nibbana paccayo hotu. Sukhi hotu nibbana paccayo hotu. Sukhi hotu nibbana paccayo hotu.